After enduring years of emotional torment from my wife, I finally mustered the courage to leave. When she realized I had taken the proof of her tax fraud, she desperately pleaded for me to come back. I am a 38-year-old man, and never in my wildest dreams did I imagine my life would reach this point. 10 years of marriage gone, a decade filled with manipulation, gaslighting, and emotional distress. I'm writing this from my new apartment, far away in another state from what I once called home. Despite the chaos surrounding me, I feel freer than I have in years. I met my wife at a charity event when I was 28. She was charming, stunning, and appeared passionate about helping others. Our relationship progressed rapidly. Too fast. I now realize within 6 months, we were engaged, and 6 months later, we were married. My family, especially my sister, had concerns about how fast everything was moving, but I was blinded by what I thought was love. The signs were there from the beginning, but I either ignored or failed to see them. Small remarks about my appearance turned into harsh insults. Minor disagreements escalated into days of silent treatment. If I ever tried to address issues in our relationship, she would twist my words until I somehow ended up apologizing for things I never did. 3 years into our marriage, my wife decided to quit her job at a marketing firm to start her own financial consulting business. I fully supported her, even investing a significant portion of my savings to help her get started. She was intelligent, well-connected, and I truly believed in her. Her business took off surprisingly well. Within a year, she had several high-profile clients. That's when things at home deteriorated even further. She became obsessed with appearances. Our house, car, clothes, everything had to scream success. Yet behind closed doors, she would berate me relentlessly. Nothing I did was ever good enough. If I cooked dinner, she would criticize the taste. If I cleaned the house, she would find the one spot I missed. She monitored my spending, yet freely used our money for her business and personal desires. When my father passed away 5 years ago, I fell into depression. Instead of supporting me, my wife called me dramatic and told me to man up. When I suggested therapy, she mocked me, saying I was weak and that I would embarrass her if her clients found out her husband was crazy. I went anyway, hiding my appointments by telling her I was working late. Those therapy sessions became my lifeline, the only place I could speak freely. Over the years, my mother noticed a change in me. During a visit while my wife was away on business, she sat me down and asked me bluntly if I was happy. I broke down completely. Once I started talking, I couldn't stop. I told her everything. The constant belittling, the isolation from friends, how my wife would threaten to leave me whenever I didn't do what she wanted, claiming no one else would ever tolerate me. This isn't love. My mother said simply, this is abuse. Hearing someone else call it what it was changed something in me. My therapist had been carefully guiding me toward this realization, but hearing it from my mother made it real. I started documenting everything, keeping a journal, saving text messages, even recording some of her furious outbursts when she didn't know. Around this time, I also noticed financial irregularities. Bills that should have been paid weren't, and there were large withdrawals from our personal account with vague explanations whenever I asked. Whenever I questioned her, she would explode with rage, accusing me of not trusting her or questioning her business skills. I'm an accountant by profession, but my wife always insisted on handling our personal finances and business accounts, saying it was her domain. One day, she forgot to log out of her laptop before leaving for a meeting. Curiosity got the best of me. What I found shook me to my core. She had been underreporting her business income for years. There were 2 sets of books, one for taxes and another showing her actual earnings. She had fabricated fake expenses, inflated real ones, and even created what appeared to be shell companies to hide money. We weren't talking about a few $1,000s. This was hundreds of thousands in tax fraud. I copied everything, bank statements, spreadsheets, emails where she discussed with her accountant how to creatively report expenses. I stored it all on an encrypted drive and hid it in my gym locker, the one place she never checked because she believed exercise was a waste of time. For the next several months, I planned my escape. I consulted a divorce attorney in secret, who advised me on protecting myself. I set aside small amount of money so she wouldn't notice. I reconnected with old friends, rebuilding my support network, all while pretending things were normal at home. The final straw came during a dinner with my wife's parents. Her father, a retired judge, was discussing a case involving a man who had embezzled money. People who steal are the lowest form of humanity, my wife said, raising her glass. They deserve whatever punishment they get. The hypocrisy was too much. I excused myself, went to the bathroom, and vomited. Looking at my shaking hands, I knew it was time to leave. I waited until she left for a 3-day business conference. I packed only essentials, clothes, documents, family heirlooms, and that encrypted drive. I left my wedding ring on the kitchen counter, along with a letter explaining that I knew about the tax fraud and that I was leaving. I didn't say where I was going, only that I wanted a divorce. My sister and her husband let me stay with them several states away. At first, silence. Then the calls started, dozens of them. When I didn't answer, the texts poured in. They began with anger. How dare you leave like this? You're nothing without me. No one will ever want you. Then manipulation. I miss you. We can work through this. I'll go to therapy if that's what you want. Finally, panic. What do you mean by tax fraud? What exactly did you take? We need to talk now. I didn't respond to any of them. On day 5, she found my sister's address. She showed up unannounced, crying, begging to talk to me. My brother-in-law, a tall, imposing man, firmly told her she wasn't welcome and needed to leave before he called the police. She tried pushing past him, screaming my name, saying she could explain everything. When she noticed he was recording everything, she quickly composed herself and left, but not before threatening to destroy me if I didn't return her business documents. 2 days later, her attorney contacted mine. Suddenly, she was offering a very generous divorce settlement on one condition. I had to return all documents and sign an NDA. I had substantial leverage that could be utilized in the divorce proceedings, yet I knew I might be exposing myself to legal repercussions if I knowingly benefited from tax fraud without reporting it. To navigate the situation, I sought counsel from a tax attorney who outlined my options. One possibility was to anonymously report her to the IRS through their whistleblower program, which even offered a percentage of recovered taxes as a reward. Alternatively, I could use the information strictly as leverage in the divorce without formally disclosing the fraud. As I deliberated on my choices, my wife's desperation intensified. She reached out to my mother, falsely claiming that I had stolen confidential business data that could bring about her downfall. However, my mother, now fully cognizant of the abuse I had endured, simply responded, "The only thing that has been destroyed here is my son's decade-long commitment to you." Then came the smear campaign on social media. My wife posted vague yet unmistakably targeted messages about betrayal and deception, portraying herself as the victim. She even contacted our mutual friends, asserting that I had become unstable and was making outrageous allegations against her. Fortunately, I had meticulously documented her abuse over the years, and many of our friends were already aware of the truth. Those who were initially unaware were soon presented with irrefutable evidence of her real nature. Gradually, people started distancing themselves from her as the truth unraveled. Her parents, however, were a different matter. One afternoon, knowing my sister and her husband were at work, they appeared unannounced at her house. Since I was working from home, I absentmindedly opened the door without checking first, a regrettable mistake. Her father immediately attempted to force his way inside, insisting that we needed to resolve this as a family. Blocking the entrance, I firmly told them they needed to leave. "You have no idea what you're doing," her mother hissed. "She built that business from scratch. You'll destroy her entire life over some hurt feelings. Man up and come home." I remained composed and replied, "Your daughter emotionally tormented me for years, and now I've uncovered her tax fraud. I'm not coming back." Her father's face turned a deep shade of purple. "Listen to me," he growled. "If even a whisper of these absurd accusations gets out, if her reputation suffers in any way, I will make sure you regret it for the rest of your life. Are you threatening me?" I asked, discreetly activating the recording app on my phone in my pocket. "Take it however you want," he snapped. "But remember, I have connections in high places. You're a nobody." As soon as they left, I forwarded the recording to my attorney. She immediately advised me to file for a restraining order, which I did the same day. The judge granted a temporary order pending a formal hearing. At the hearing, my wife appeared poised, denying any harassment and feigning concern for my well-being, suggesting that I've been acting irrationally. Then, my attorney played the recordings, not only of her parents' threats, but also of her screaming at me in our home, calling me worthless and vowing to leave me penniless if I ever crossed her. The judge's demeanor shifted noticeably. The restraining order was officially granted. Meanwhile, the divorce proceedings advanced. My wife's substantial settlement offer remained on the table, contingent on my silence and the return of all incriminating documentation. But I had made my decision. I was not about to let her evade accountability for years of tax fraud. Not after everything she put me through. I filed a whistleblower report with the IRS, submitting all the evidence I had compiled. My tax attorney reassured me that since I had never been involved in preparing her business taxes and had taken proactive steps to report the fraud upon discovery, I was likely protected. When my wife received notice of the IRS investigation, she erupted with fury. The calls and texts resumed, now brimming with pure rage. She accused me of destroying her life, claiming I would regret this decision for eternity. "You think you've won?" she shrieked in a voicemail. "This is just the beginning. I will make sure you never have a moment of peace. You'll wish you never crossed me." Each threat was forwarded to my attorney and added to the growing case file for her restraining order violations. Eventually, she was held in contempt of court and fined. The IRS investigation progressed methodically, uncovering even more extensive fraud than I had initially detected. My wife's carefully curated image began to crumble as clients abandoned her one by one. The foundation of deceit upon which her business was built started to collapse. Amidst all this, I focused on healing. I continued therapy, began rebuilding my life, and even started dating again, something that seemed inconceivable a year ago. My new apartment wasn't extravagant, but it was tranquil. There were no eggshells to tread upon, no relentless criticism lurking around every corner. The divorce was finalized after a protracted process. Due to the ongoing criminal investigation, the judge was unsympathetic to my wife's demands. I received a fair settlement. Nothing close to the lucrative hush money she had initially offered, but my freedom was far more valuable than any sum of money. Then, something unexpected happened. I received a notice from the IRS informing me that I would be awarded a substantial whistleblower payout based on the recovered taxes, penalties, and interest. The amount was life-changing, enough to purchase a modest home outright and still have a sizable nest egg. Shortly after, I received a text from my wife, the first contact in a long time. "I hope you're happy. You've obliterated everything we built together. I still love you. You know it could have been different." I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. 10 years of my life were gone, but the rest of it was mine to reclaim. As I sit in my apartment, preparing to embark on a fresh chapter in a city where no one knows me or my past, I feel something I haven't felt in years. Hope. For anyone reading this who sees themselves in my story, who rationalizes a partner's toxic behavior, who walks on eggshells, who feels ensnared, please know that there's a way out. It won't be easy, but it will be worth it. You deserve better. We all do,